Welcome to Defeat Your Cravings, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston, PhD. Glenn has held his doctorate in psychology for more than 30 years and is also a former multi-million-dollar consultant to the big food industry and uses his experience to help you defeat your cravings. This show will help you to focus on dramatically reducing cravings and leave the diet mentality behind, so you can more easily and effortlessly achieve your health, fitness, and body composition goals. Please remember, no doctor-patient relationship is created via this show, and you are responsible for confirming any changes to your diet, health, or psychological routines with an appropriately licensed professional before implementing them. Now, before we get started, if you haven't yet downloaded the free smartphone app to access dozens of these recordings all in one place, as well as to avail yourself of a confidential community for support, motivation, and assistance, please visit the podcast link on defeatyourcravings.com as soon as possible. And now, here's your host, Dr. Glenn Livingston.
Hey, this is the very good Dr. Glenn Livingston, and I'm here with Laura, who is one of our clients that's agreed to talk about her experience both before and after the coaching, so you can get a sense of what's worked for her, what hasn't worked for her. You can benefit from her wisdom and experience as well as her trials and tribulations. And Laura, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. So I'm so eager to hear your story. Tell me, where did it start? What was your journey to finding us, and then what happened?
So I'm 42, so it's been a long time now. But I started binging after my senior year when I lost a bunch of weight very quickly. Had never had any issues with food. I was a normal weight when that happened, but I got too thin. And then when I finally started eating again, suddenly I had become a binge eater. It's kind of waxed and waned over the years, and the program really resonated with me because I had read Rational Recovery, and I even tried Overeaters Anonymous, and I liked the idea of not giving up, the idea that I had control. And what I liked about your program was that it was very specific. Like, you gave us the tools to do it, to fight the voice of the pig and things like that. So where I am now is I joined the June intensive. I felt like maybe if someone kind of held me to the fire, it would force me to do the work that I'm never willing to do on my own. So that's where I am today.
Okay. Sometimes the pig creates too many rules as a way to force you to believe that dieting is too hard and you're going to have to quit sooner or later, so you might as well quit now.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate.
And what I like to say to people is that you need to go to kindergarten before you go to college. So why not start with one simple rule and get things moving in a way that you can actually do?
I talked to Fiona briefly, she's my coach for this intensive, about our call today because I'll get to what my big issue is. And I'm curious to hear your insight as to whether or not you think that's the pig talking or it's kind of a real issue with the one rule I've come up with. Would you like me to go into that now?
Please.
Okay, so my main issue is nighttime snacking. It is a huge self-soother for me. I have a relatively stressful job. I'm an emergency room nurse. And if I'm not an emergency room nurse, I only work part-time. I'm a stay-at-home mom for a 3-year-old. So I don't have a ton of peace and quiet in my life.
I'll bet.
So for me, my nighttime eating is like, I don't even want my husband there. I just want to be left alone. I want the dishes to be put away, the house to be clean. I just want some friggin' peace. And I want to sit and be able to enjoy my dessert. It's always sugar. Like, I don't ever want a hamburger for the evening. It's always something sugary. I usually have dark chocolate. I do eat paleo, so it's a relatively healthy-ish dessert. It's an 85% dark chocolate. And I eat it slowly and I savor it. And I'm just enjoying the peaceful moment. But it has to have that sugar or else there's no enjoyment. Every once in a while, though, that will turn into a binge. So there's part of me that wants to say no eating after dinner, because if you offered me my chocolate sitting at the table, I wouldn't want it. So I can recognize that there's more to the dessert than just the food itself. Like, there's something about the ecstasy, basically, that it gives me that I recognize that's why I'm doing it. But on the other hand, I also feel like I don't need to be a martyr. Like, I don't need to give up all pleasure in my life. I'm torn between, is it the pig saying, you don't need to take away this dessert? Or is it a rational part of me saying, you're entitled to have some pleasure in the evening? So that's kind of where I'm stuck right now.
Okay, can I ask you a couple of questions?
Sure.
How much dark chocolate works for you at night?
Well, what I usually end up having is called batons at Trader Joe's. And I think each one is 35 grams, and I tend to have two of them.
So about 70 grams of
Dark chocolate.
chocolate. And when you do that, you feel proud of yourself. You've gotten the right amount of pleasure and freedom. And for the most part, you can just go to bed after that or stop eating.
Yeah, usually. So the batons are kind of, say, 8 inches long. There's like little indentations, so you can like snap off a piece at a time, kind of. I will eat it slowly, but even though I'm eating it slowly and enjoying it, there is a part of my brain that is saying, we should go have 10 more. It's not a totally peaceful experience because the pig is saying, this is really delicious, let's have some more. But at the same time, I am not eating it in a binge-like way. And like I said, sometimes this will turn into a binge and I'll like sneak back downstairs and get into the cabinets. But even when I'm having it, what would look to an observer as a quote unquote normal way, there is an element of anxiety there.
If you could have 70 grams of chocolate per night, this particular kind of dark chocolate per night, could you accomplish your health and fitness goals?
You know, it's tough. I don't know. I think so, because that's about 400 calories. So basically my 400 calories of nutritious breakfast become the 400 calories of chocolate at night. So there's always a little bit of some nutrition being taken away to put them in. But at the same time, I'm very healthy. I'm very active. And so it's not at all interfering with my health and wellness right now. It's just not a totally peaceful feeling. Once dinner is over, a lot of times when I do binge, it's when my husband goes up to give our son a bath because I'm alone by myself and that's when I do it. And even if I'm not binging, I'm waiting for bath time to be over so I can put my son to bed and have that chocolate, you know, like white knuckling it through that period to get to the chocolate.
What would you ideally like to be able to do?
I would ideally like to be the kind of person who didn't focus on food. I mean, I feel like for me, this has become so much more of like a behavioral thing. Like I don't like my hypervigilance and preoccupation with food all of the time. I'd like to be the kind of person who, if dessert was served at the table, I'd be like, yeah, I'm in the mood for it tonight, I'll have some, or yeah, I'm not in the mood for it tonight, I'll have some. And then just, that's it.
The way that comes about, when it does come about, is through a period of discipline. Not over restriction, but a period of discipline where you regain control and regain confidence in yourself and actually build a confidence that you've never had. You know, I don't know for certain that that'll work because some people it never does. But about 2/3 of the people we work with, it seems like we can get there if they really want to. And then you slowly introduce things in a very defined way. That's been my experience.
Okay.
Let's just talk about the chocolate dessert for right now. Ideally, would you like to be able to have 70 grams per evening and stop at that? Is that ideally what you'd like to be able to do?
And there's one other caveat to this. I think the caffeine does not help with my sleep.
I'm sure it doesn't.
And I recognize that. And so again, ideally, from a pleasure standpoint, yes, ideally I would like to have these 70 grams and be okay with that. From an overall health and wellness perspective, I recognize it's probably not best for me, but there is nothing else right now that I enjoy.
What about having 35 grams?
No, because then I'd want more. I've tried that. Yeah,
Not enough?
Yeah.
So you'd be willing to sacrifice your sleep to a certain extent in order to be able to do this every night?
I mean, that's what I've been doing. It's not a complete causative effect because there are nights when I sleep just fine after it, but there are also nights when I don't. So it doesn't always interfere with my sleep. Like, obviously, it doesn't help.
Well, I mean, you'll probably get used to it over time if you don't increase the dosage. I knew a guy who had 8 cups of coffee at night and still went to sleep. I didn't understand that, but he did.
Yeah, I mean, my husband does that. I mean, not 8 cups, but, you know, he'll drink coffee at night and be fine.
Yeah. We're not pretending like this is really good for you. It's just that you want that pleasure and you are willing to make certain sacrifices with your health in order to get it, at least for now.
Okay, yes, that would be an accurate assessment.
Okay, that's fair. I would fight for your right to do that if you want to. Okay. Do you want to consider taking one day off a week just to prove to yourself that you can?
One day off from dessert completely or one day off from the chocolate? Would I like to one day a week stop eating after dinner?
I'm just thinking it might be good for your psychology to have that experience so you don't feel like you're a slave to the chocolate.
Yeah, and I have done that. Like I've gone through periods, I actually just came off of a period where I made a rule where I could not eat after dinner and I would brush my teeth at, 6:30, 6:45. So I've done it and I can do it. I don't love it. I've never sustained it for any length of time, but I have Done it.
Okay, screw it then. Screw it. Okay, so maybe you're not going to lose weight really quickly. Maybe it's going to interfere with your sleep a little bit, but it seems to you to be the best balance right now to have 70 grams. Okay. I want to compare and contrast two different rules, and you don't have to commit to either of these at all right now. So this is totally up to you. I'm not telling you you have to do this. I just want to get a sense of your perceptions. One would be I'll never eat chocolate again, and the other would be I will never eat more than 70 grams of chocolate per calendar day again.
Okay, obviously the second one feels much better.
Yeah, I want to see where it leads.
Okay,
Let's start with the first one.
sure.
If you never eat chocolate again, and I talk to you in 90 days, what happens? Your pig says that's impossible, but let's say you did it. What would happen in 90 days?
I would probably find something else to replace it with. I would buy vanilla ice cream or something like that. If you don't completely eliminate the dessert, I would just replace the chocolate.
Okay, so that sounds like a no-go then. That sounds like we shouldn't do that. So if you never have more than 70 grams of chocolate per calendar day, even though the pig says you can't do that and you're going to have more, what happens in 90 days then?
Nothing would really be different because I think that's probably pretty much what I do. The processed food binges have become so rare at this point that eating paleo, I don't eat chocolate. I don't eat processed food. So the only chocolate in my life is those 70 grams of dark chocolate, which I have pretty much every day. So really nothing would be different 90 days from now.
How would you feel about yourself?
If I only had the 70 grams for 90 days,
Yeah.
I'd feel the same as I do. I'd still be like, why do I have this dependency on the same chocolate every night? Nothing would really be different. I mean, that's basically the rule I'm following unintentionally already.
So is this going to give you what you want?
No, because I have the preoccupation with it in the evenings. I'm not at peace with this because I still need it.
So you're kind of stuck because you feel both ways about this.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And that's why I was having such a hard time coming up with a rule. And Fiona was like, well, you really need a rule, do the worksheet. And I was like, but I don't. I'm not struggling to come up with a rule per se. I'm struggling with the sort of more universal question of, do I have to give up this pleasure? Is it harming me so much that I want to get rid of it? That's what I'm struggling with.
Well, if you made a decision, if you decided to end the debate and have 70 grams a night, and you decided that you're going to stop debating this because the debating is driving you crazy.
Yeah.
And the obsession is driving you crazy, and maybe it is, maybe it's not. It's an empirical fact, right? Let's say we do it for a month. You make the decision and you stop debating it. In a month, you'll see if you're accomplishing what you want to accomplish or not, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think about that? What do you think about just committing to it for a month? And let's assume that any thought, image, feeling, impulse that suggests that, oh, you're a sicko, you're dependent on chocolate, blah, blah, blah. Let's assume that's the pig because you made this decision. This is what you want to do. What do you think about that?
That's basically the rule that we came up with. The rule that we came up with, there was kind of a two-part to it. I tend to munch as I'm putting away dinner. So the food that my son doesn't eat, stuff like that, I munch on. So I made my rule kind of twofold. And it was that I could eat dinner, but it had to be plated at the table. So I couldn't eat it when I was cleaning up, stuff like that. So I had to eat my dinner at the table. If I chose to, I could have a pre-decided upon dessert before bed. So that's basically the rule that we came up with, which was dinner at the table to get rid of the munching, but left in the pleasure dessert for the evening, which will be a little bit of a challenge for me to not munch after dinner. So I am excited to see how this works for these 10 days to see if I can stick with it. So that is basically what we've decided to try, is what you just came up with.
Okay, so let's just talk about pre-decided upon dessert. So one pre-decided upon dessert could be 70 grams of dark chocolate.
Yeah, so something like that. If I wanted to have like that banana ice cream, so you like use a frozen banana and
oh yeah, then ice cream they call it. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically 400-ish calorie max dessert before bed. Sometimes I jump off my paleo bandwagon and have one of those like halo top ice creams or something like that.
And do you want to keep a list of what those 400 calorie desserts could be?
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, I could totally do that. And then just choose one every night. Yeah, that's a really good idea.
Okay. So I only ever eat dinner at the table, and I can have 400 calories of a pre-listed dessert, pre-approved dessert.
Yeah.
One of which is 70 grams of dark chocolate.
Yeah.
And so if you feel like you really need better sleep, you could switch to another dessert for that night that's on your list.
Yeah.
Okay. And why would this be good? Why would it be good to decide upon this and have it really well-defined and follow it?
Well, it would get rid of I don't even want to say it's mindless eating that tends to happen as we're putting away the dishes. I mean, it's sort of almost bingey. Like they make the cauliflower gnocchi at Trader Joe's.
I haven't, but that sounds good.
Oh my God, they're so good. If you put them in the air fryer, you have to try them if you have access to a Trader Joe's. But anyway, so we make those every night because my toddler loves them. And he'll have, whatever, say 6 left on his plate. And I literally, in like one handful, will stick all 6 of them in my mouth. It's going to help by getting rid of that. And it's also going to help with getting a handle on portion control. I'm not going to make 4 trips back to the stove every single time, picking a little bit off of each pan while I'm getting myself seconds. It's going to be on my plate on the table. So it's going to help with getting a handle on portions, getting a handle on mindless snacking, and closing the kitchen after dinner. I mean, I'll have to open the kitchen to get my dessert out, but my husband's giving my son a bath. I'm going to be forced to wait until bed to have my dessert. And I think those are all good things. Like last night, even I was doing one of the real-time refutations. I was listening to the podcast for the call-in hours yesterday, walking that woman through her refutation. And I was sitting there trying to do mine because the pig was saying, oh, they're upstairs, have a little bit of dried mango, have some nut butter. And so I was doing a refutation. And so I didn't end up going up to bed until a little after 8, which is pretty late for me. And I almost was like, maybe I shouldn't even have dessert tonight. What's the point? And, I ended up having it. But I think it's that chance that sometimes in that window, I may actually decide, you know what, let me just go to bed without it.
And because that's an option and you're not forced to, doesn't feel like anybody's controlling you, and maybe that'll start happening. Okay. Why is it good to get your portions under control and to be more mindful with your eating? Why is that important?
I don't know. I mean, I don't have a weight problem. I'm not super lean, but I don't know what I've got, like 25% body fat or so. I'm an athletic person. I do CrossFit, I power lift and stuff like that. But like, you can't see my abs. And I've always kind of felt a little bit like the chubby athlete. And everyone who knows me tells me that this is all in my head, that I'm not the chubby athlete, but that's the way I perceive myself. And I eat on average, maybe 2,500-ish calories a day. So even if I just got rid of those munchies and dropped 200 or 300 calories a day, if that were consistent enough and I kept up my activity level, maybe I'd lose another 5 pounds or something. So it's not at all a desperate, like, save my health, make me not obese kind of thing, but I would look a little better and that would make me happier.
You might get abs.
Yeah, I might.
And how would that make you feel about yourself if you lost a couple of pounds and felt more in control?
It would make me feel better.
What would happen if you didn't get your portions under control and you kept eating mindlessly for, let's say, for 10 years? What would happen?
I don't know. I mean, I'm 42, so I guess eventually I would probably start to gain weight. But ironically enough, I had my son, he's 3.5. I am about 5 to 6 pounds lighter now than I was pre-baby. Like, I only weigh about maybe 5 to 7 pounds more than I did in high school right now. So it's ironic to answer this question because even though I've been doing this for the last, 5-6 years, I'm actually leaner than I used to be. I don't really quite understand how it's happening, except for the fact that I'm a really active person. So if I kept doing this, I guess I would almost say either nothing would change. I'd still have the feeling of being crazy, which I don't like. But physically, I don't really know how it would look.
I'm not hearing any really burning motivation except to feel less obsessed with food.
And that's really it. Maybe because of your work and the recognition of the voice of the pig, my binging isn't as bad. And I guess maybe right now you've caught me in actually a good stretch. Like, COVID for my family has been not at all a hardship. So the emergency room, the census is way down because people were afraid to come to the hospital. So work has become a little less stressful. We're outside all the time. So my son is just an easier toddler to deal with because we're outside all the time. Everything in life is just going really well for me right now. So my binging is actually not quite as bad. If we had spoken 2 or 3 months ago, I think I'd be saying very different things because the binging was more frequent then.
Laura, the central issue in food obsession, there are 2 issues. The main issue is ambiguity. When there's ambiguity involved that maybe I can have this, maybe I can have that, the pig just never shuts up.
Yeah.
And it wears you down and it just goes on forever. But if you have defined your critical food decisions beforehand and you've made decisions, and with this rule you have, right?
Yeah.
So I can have a 400-calorie predefined dessert of my choosing. If you define that before, and I think that it might be helpful to you to say that the dessert had to be defined the previous calendar day. You can't impulsively add something. because if you could impulsively add something, the pig is going to start obsessing again about what it might add. If you do that, then there really aren't any major food decisions to make anymore. And you should thoroughly enjoy your food, monitor the results and see if you're happy with the results, but thoroughly enjoy your food. And the pig's voice will die down because now you know that any thought, feeling, impulse, or image that suggests that you're going to have more, or that you're too dependent, or whatever it is, this is your best thinking. At a time when you were of sound mind and body, you sat down, you talked to me, you talked to Fiona, you put together your best thinking about the rules that you wanted to follow. How would you define your bullseye? And that's the bullseye you're going to go for, damn it.
I know at one point I'm having a hard time recalling the content of it, but I know you had a podcast titled something like, Can You Have Something in Moderation? And what I was struggling with was I'm allowing myself too much, that I'm like, this is totally the pig saying I can have 400 calories of dessert every day. But on the other hand, if I can maintain a physical stature that I'm okay with, if I'm not at all limited in my physical endeavors, which I'm not, then it's okay to have 400 calories of dessert a day. And it's almost like maybe I just needed you to tell me that.
It's an empirical matter. You don't need me to tell you that. You don't need anybody else to tell you that. It's an empirical matter. Are you accomplishing what you want to accomplish? You have no physical limitation. Are you feeling the way you want to feel? Are you sleeping the way you want to sleep? Your blood level's okay. It's an empirical matter. It's not really for me to say or anybody else to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know I do. Yeah.
Okay.
I do have just one other thing, and I just want to bring it up before we run out of time. So if maybe we could find a way to address it, is the one thing that I do not have under control is eating other places. It is super triggering for me to have somebody else prepare me food. And a lot of times because of beliefs about food and paleo and processed foods, I tend to not eat at other people's homes and in restaurants. I tend to just get like a burger on a salad or something. But as my son gets older and starts wanting to go out for ice cream or something like that after dinner, or wants to go out to restaurants every once in a while, that's something that is really difficult for me and kind of ties into the mental obsession with food, is that I always have to say no to the ice cream at the ice cream stand because that would just start a binge for me. So I don't know if this is a point where you feel like that would be an okay segue, or if you want to file that for later, or that's another issue coming up in the intensive, but I just want to put out there that that is something that's also a struggle for me.
We can talk about that. I wasn't going to let your pig get off the phone. I was going to find out all the reasons your pig says you can't do this. So this is one of them. Let's write that down and let's continue to find all the reasons as the pig says. So the pig says you can't handle restaurants and outings.
It does.
You call the pig in it so that it doesn't get the dignity of a human pronoun. Okay, I got that from Jack Trimpey. Why else does your pig say that you won't be able to follow these two rules? Only ever eat dinner at the table and have a pre-decided upon dessert for 400 calories or less.
Why won't I be able to follow those rules?
Why are you going to break these rules and binge? What does the pig say you're going to break these rules and binge?
Because I'm going to give you the urge to binge. I don't know how else to say that.
Okay, so the urge will be too strong.
Yeah, the urge will be too strong.
What else?
I mean, the big one would be when we're not home, because I actually feel like I have 100% confidence that I can do the idea of dinner at the table and then a dessert at home. I actually feel really good about that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest cry at this point is what happens when you're not at home and you want to have something different. Like when you go out to a restaurant, or my husband is part of a huge family and we have a Sunday dinner up there every week and it's all processed foods. And I usually just don't eat anything, but I'd like to have a piece of cake every once in a while and then just be done. And it's either no cake or binge. But these are the feelings that I have. I wish I could say that a little more.
You're doing terrifically at it. I know what the pig is saying, and we're going to come up with a solution for that.
Okay.
Is there anything else that the pig says? Any other reason besides that you won't be able to handle this outside the home and that your urge is too strong?
Coming back to an in-home thing is, like, some days I'll do a 20-mile snowshoe with 6,000 feet of vertical. On those days, I deserve more than 400 calories of dessert.
What else?
You can maintain your body weight doing this anyway, so just binge, because clearly if you can sit here and say, well, I'm okay with my physique right now, you might as well just binge because you're binging and maintaining this physique.
Mm-hmm. What else?
Everybody looks at you and thinks you look athletic and strong anyway, so you might as well. I guess that kind of ties into, you're meeting all your athletic goals anyway. The only way you can put on muscle is by eating more, so it doesn't matter.
Okay, I'm writing these all down.
You can always out-exercise a binge.
I did that until I couldn't do it anymore. Any other reasons?
I feel like maybe that's it for now. Maybe the pig will squeal when you say something down the road.
Okay, so let's go over them one by one, okay?
Sure.
I'll help you if you can't find the answers, but I want you to try first.
Sure.
I want you to assume that the pig always works by telling you a half-truth and a bigger lie. So the pig says, you're not going to be able to go to restaurants and outings. You can't handle this away from home. Maybe you can do it at home. You can't handle it away from home, so you might as well binge. Where's the problem with that? Where's the lie in that?
Well, if I don't listen to the pig squeals, I could do it. I'm in control of the hand that brings the food to my mouth, not the pig. If my upper brain decides that binging is not in my best interest, I have the ability, the control to do that.
Laura, why couldn't you, before you went to a restaurant, look up the menu, figure out what an approximately 400-calorie dessert might be, and choose that before you go? Have that be part of your rules.
Well, I don't know what restaurants you're going to, but I don't think there's too many that are 400-calorie desserts. And I guess maybe if I wanted to have a rule that it was allowed to be an 800-calorie dessert at a restaurant. I mean, honestly, my husband and I go out to eat, I'm not even kidding, like twice a year. So if I made a rule to say, one time per calendar month, I can have an 800 or 1,000-calorie dessert outside the home, even if that day I end up eating an extra 1,000 calories compared to a binge, that's nothing.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing.
How does that feel?
Good.
Good, okay. So when the pig says the urge is going to be too strong, you're going to have to binge.
I learned how to do a real-time refutation, and I can get out a piece of paper and a pen, and I can write it down and get myself back from my lower brain to my higher brain and make the choice that I've made, I forget your language, in sound mind and judgment or whatever.
When you're of sound mind of body and you decided to write down what you wanted for yourself.
Yeah.
What about when the pig says on a day when you do a ridiculous exercise like a 20-mile snowshoe hike that you deserve to eat more than 400 calories?
Again, I struggle with this because you've talked about hiking the 48. If you went out with a group of hiking people, you hike off of Mount Washington, and what does everybody do? They go out and they get a burger with fries and a beer and maybe some ice cream, whatever. People kind of treat themselves after this day of physical energy expenditure. And I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with that. But I also don't want to tie my ability to eat a lot of food. I don't like linking that. But this comes back to the idea, I think, almost similar to my original problem, which is, do I quote unquote deserve to have a pleasurable experience at the end of every night? This is, do I quote unquote deserve to have a pleasurable eating experience after a really hard physical day? So I don't know, maybe make up a rule similar to the eating out that twice per calendar month, if there is a day with a huge caloric expenditure, I can have whatever, a 800-calorie limit or 1,000-calorie limit or something.
What's wrong with that?
That I could see myself, because physically right now I have the capacity to do it, to be like, I want more dessert tonight, so I'm going to go out for a 2-hour mountain bike ride just so I can have dessert.
So is it a good idea or not?
I don't know.
What are the options? You could have a bigger dinner, right? You don't have a rule that will prevent you from having a bigger dinner.
Right.
So you're concerned that you could become like exercise bulimic.
And I think I naturally sort of have that tendency. And I'm not an exercise bulimic, at least in my mind, in the truest sense of the word, because no matter how much an exercise bulimic tries to tell you that they love walking on the treadmill or the Stairmaster for 6 hours, I don't think it's true.
Right.
Whereas I love mountain biking. For me to do a 2-hour mountain bike with 1,500 feet of vertical, I love it. And I love hiking. I've always been an athlete. This is not a creation of something recently in order to allow me to eat more food. I am just an athletic person by nature. But at the same time, I definitely have the tendencies of an exercise bulimic.
Laura, it sounds like your bigger concern is with the sugar than the calories overall. So what if you got your extra calories after a big workout from dinner and you still had the 400-calorie dessert, or you could use your out at a restaurant once a month for the 800 calories, right? So what if you didn't change the rule? You had the option to use that out at dinner thing and you got some extra calories at dinner if you needed it.
Yeah, okay, so maybe make it that I would just eat more nutrient-dense food.
Yeah.
And even if it were kind of a splurgy nutrient dense food for me, like I don't know, I can't even think of an example. Like say you have 2 hamburgers or something like that instead of 1 hamburger. As long as it was food that had some nutrient density to it, I could have extra real food, but stick to the 400 calorie dessert.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
Okay. So we're not changing the rules at all then.
Okay.
And you're not going to starve yourself, because if you did 20 miles and you tried to eat what you normally eat every day, it would be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Okay. Pig says you can maintain your weight anyway, so you might as well binge. What's the problem with that?
I don't know, because it's kind of true. And again, it just comes down to vanity. Like at the end of the day, who really cares if I have a 6-pack? Like that's not really important. But that's what I feel like it comes down to. Like my argument to that is, well, I could be even leaner, but it just keeps going and going. And I'm not in a bodybuilding competition. I don't need to be stage lean.
Laura, the answer to that is that you told me that you want to be rid of the food obsession.
Yeah.
And if you let your pig change your mind, then you're always going to be food obsessed. Because the pig will always know that it could change your mind. And if you decide at some point that, if you decide, Laura, not your pig, if you decide that you want to allow an 800 calorie dessert every night, you could do that. You could go back and think about it and write down why you want to do that and write down exactly what the rule change would be and then wait 48 hours. If you make your decisions with your intellect and you stick to them, then the food obsession goes away. That's the reason.
Okay.
Okay. Doesn't have to do with the weight. Everybody thinks that you look athletic and strong, so you might as well binge. Same answer, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You need to eat more to put on muscle, so you might as well eat more now. You might as well binge now.
Well, the lie in that is that my binge choices are not hypertrophy foods.
Right.
If I were binging on steak, I wouldn't have an argument, but I'm not. So.
You're not going to gain muscle on cheesecake.
No.
Right. The answer there is also the same.
Yeah.
With regards to intellectual decisions, right?
Right.
If you decide that you need to change your diet a little bit so that you can put on muscle, you write out what the rules are. Keep the rules perfectly clear and stick to them. That's the idea. Okay. You can always out-exercise this, so you might as well binge.
Same thing, the food obsession.
So how confident are you feeling that you will only ever eat dinner at the table and have a pre-decided amount of a pre-listed dessert for 400 calories or less, with the exception of going to a restaurant? How many times a week do you want to go out to a restaurant and do that? A month?
Oh, I said like once a month.
Okay. Except for once a month at a restaurant, which could be after a 20-mile snowshoe hike if you wanted.
Yeah. How
confident are you feeling that you're not going to binge again?
100%.
Are you?
I do. I feel like you gave me a perspective that I hadn't had before, which was that our rules had to make us into these like perfect people, you know, that had no vices. And by giving me a rule that allows me to have my vice and say, you know what, it might not be the best, but I enjoy it. And for this point in my life, that's okay. I feel like giving me that rule is taking away the pig squeal saying, oh, there's too many damn rules. This is so stupid. We're never going to be able to do this. You're not perfect anyway, so why bother trying? It's taken away that squeal, and that's really made a big difference for me.
Yes. It's also a squeal that your pig says you committed and fell down before, therefore you're going to fall down again.
Yeah.
We say never, even though we know we might change the rules later. Yeah. We say never, even though we know that we're human with the capacity for failure, because we have to present the bullseye to the pig as if it's set in stone. We have to. Otherwise, it means I'm going to try for a little while till I don't feel like it anymore. And otherwise, there's this ambiguous target. And with an ambiguous target, the pig doesn't stop squealing. So, you know, when people get married, sometimes they get divorced and get remarried, and we still go to the ceremony. We still honor them at the ceremony, right?
Yeah.
So your first marriage didn't work out so well. That's okay. You've had life experience, you've thought it through, and you just described for me what the problem was with your first food husband, right?
Yep.
So now you know what to do.
So that was me. I was married and divorced pretty young, and my second husband is hopefully going to be these rules. Like, it's perfect. It's amazing. It was meant to be. So hopefully this food husband will turn out to be as good as my current husband.
But that's a really good memory. That's a major life decision. That's the biggest life decision you'll ever make, who you're going to marry. And you screwed up the first time, and now you got a good choice.
Yeah. The best choice.
The best choice. Okay, I hope he hears this.
Yeah.
Laura, do you have any questions or concerns?
I don't think so.
Well, thank you, dear. Sorry it took a little while to get to that. I couldn't quite figure out what your motivation was, but then we got it.
Yeah. No, I feel a lot better on this.
So. I think this will kill the food obsession for you.
Ah, me too.
Okay.
Hope so.
Well, be well. Thank you for doing this. So we could follow up in 6 months if you want to.
Okay, that would be
Okay.
great. All
Okay,
right,
dear.
Glenn, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Be
All
well.
right, bye.
Bye.
And that brings us to the end of today's broadcast of Defeat Your Cravings, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston. Now, if you'd like to find out more about the products and services Dr. Glenn offers to help you dramatically reduce your cravings and stop overeating in 90 days or less, please visit defeatyourcravingscoaching.com. That's defeatyourcravingscoaching.com. Thanks.